And now it's time for more of Southern California's sports fishing voice. Let's talk hookup. This portion of the show is sponsored in part by Ford, the official truck of Let's Talk Hookup. Rancho Leonero, where your wildest Baja dreams come true. Maui Jim Sunglasses, the choice of the best captains. Shimano Rods and Reels, fish with the best. Shimano. And by Yamaha Outboards, official motor sponsor of Let's Talk Hookup. Here we go. Another great hour of Southern California's sports fishing voice. Let's Talk Hookup. Here's Pete Gray, Rock Cod Rick Mexa, and Corey Sandin.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. Let's Talk Hookup right here on the Let's Talk Hookup app and radio network. Pete Gray here with Rock Cod Rick Mexa in the world headquarters of Let's Talk Hookup at right next to the San Diego Landings, the world's largest and most modern sport fishing fleet right at our backyard right here. And we have a great guest, Mr. Bill Varney, surf fishing expert and CCA advocate and all-around good guy.
Oh, we're having a great time.
The other thing I should mention about Bill Varney is he also does our bi-monthly email blast and does fantastic job. And thank you for that, Bill. I mean,
welcome.
You are such an asset to Let's Talk Hookup, and we very much appreciate all you're doing.
It's an absolute joy. Thank you for asking me.
And if you're not signed up for our email blast, the next one's a big one.
Yes.
I'm just going to tell you that. The next one has a huge announcement, and you're going to find out when that email blast comes up at the beginning of December. So if you're not a part of our email blast, you want to do it right now.
Absolutely.
Right?
You go right to the site, Let's Talk Hookup, and sign up right there.
Yeah, just sign up. It's
very
free.
easy.
We don't scam. We don't sell. We don't do any of that stuff. It's just, that's all you're going to get is once in a while we'll throw one out on a special occasion to add to it, but normally you're just going to get 2 emails a month, and that's it.
It's pretty cool.
Every other week. So just go ahead and do that and check out that huge announcement coming up in the next email blast for sure. And my gosh, Bill has brought such incredible prizes with him. And one thing I want to mention, if you're not part of our social media, which is Facebook and Instagram, get on it now and see this new backpack that we're giving away. I took some shots of Bill with showing off his backpack, and it's on our Facebook and Instagram right now.
Yeah, it's a really killer pack, and somebody's going to win that at the end of today's show. If you want to get through and join us in the fun today, 833-288-0973. Again, 833-288-0973. Giving away 3 separate prizes today at the end of the show. First of which, as we mentioned before, a 5-pack of that awesome 2021 Bill Varney CCA calendar. We've also got a hand-picked surf fishing kit for one lucky caller, and that awesome fishing backpack. Again, you can see that on our Instagram page, on our Facebook page. See Bill's smiling face and showing off that awesome backpack.
What's in the hand-picked surf fishing kit?
You've got everything you need to go surf fishing, but a rod, reel, and license. So you've got the sinkers, swivels, beads, hooks, several different types of hooks, grubs, tape measure, my book, everything that you need to be successful in the surf. And I know what it is getting a nice gift, and you want to jump down and go down the beach right away and get rigged up and go fishing, but take a few minutes to look through my book before you go down there. It'll give you some great tips.
It really is.
It's really very descriptive.
Yeah. The light line revolution.
The light line revolution.
Yeah, I love it.
Keep it up. And people are always asking me, how do I learn to surf fish? Get the book.
That is
Get the book or come to a seminar, one of the two.
The seminars, yeah, for sure. Well, let's go ahead and jump into those jam-packed phones.
You got it, buddy. We're going to start off with Roy. Roy's calling us from San Diego this morning. Hi, Roy. Welcome to Let's Talk Hookup.
Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you doing today?
Great.
Great. Bill, I recently saw a YouTube video about someone who would blanch his sand crabs and freeze them for later. Have you ever tried that, or do you have any thoughts on that?
That's a good question.
That is a very traditional way of taking care of your sand crabs. Certainly was well known back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. That was something also that was done with mussel, was blanching mussel, so it stayed on your hook. Personally, I don't do that, and I'll tell you exactly what I do. So if I'm down in the summertime, and I'm down at the beach in Southern California from, let's say, right after the Fred Hall show, April 1st to about October 1st, that's when I'm going to find tons of billions of sand crabs along the Southern California coast. But when the winter comes, there's not going to be any sand crabs down here in Southern California. They're going to go in hibernation. So if I want to have sand crabs to use over the winter, what I'll do is I'll go catch the hardest sand crabs I can find, because once you defrost them, they'll always be soft.
Hardest meaning the shell, physical hard.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that. Hardest being the shell. And then I'll squirt about half a pack of either Taco Bell, Del Taco, it's really up to you, hot sauce into the Ziploc bag.
What?
It sounds like I'm going to have a snack, right?
Yeah.
And then I will freeze that.
You're BSing right now.
I'm not kidding. And when it unfreezes, they're kind of a reddish color.
Okay.
And then they've got that strong vinegar scent to them. And then the oil that's in the hot sauce holds it on those crabs.
You're messing with us right now.
And they work as great bait.
Come on.
Now, I'm not messing with you, but I do have to have a caveat. When the sand crabs leave the beach in the middle of the winter, it's unusual that you'll catch a big fish on a sand crab, because it's not what occurs naturally in the area. And surffish, took a long time to get big. Like a corbina that's, let's say, 22 inches is probably 14 to 15 years old. It got big by being smart, not by being dumb. It's not a Dorado that grows to 8 pounds in 3 months. So when they see something that occurs that's not natural in their territory, they normally will not eat it.
Okay,
that's great info.
Yeah, good info.
I dig it.
Now the Taco Bell stuff, it works. Does Cholula work?
Cholula works. Taco Bell works. The thing is that whatever has
I like Cholula.
Yeah,
oil. Yeah, really.
Are we talking mild or fiery sauce here? Like, what?
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Is it the Fuego?
Yeah, exactly. What's our level of heat that we're looking for?
Yeah,
that's cool.
But each of those,
and
then all of the scents that you get at the store, they contain two things: oil and vinegar. Mm-hmm. Oil is what holds it to the bait or a grub or whatever you're dipping into it, and then the vinegar is what gives it the flavor. So when the fish bites down, even though vinegar is not what they would naturally have in their zone, they'd have more like ammonia. It gives them a taste so that they feel that whatever the bait is real. And then they go after it.
That's so cool, man.
Cool.
I dig that.
All right.
That's
Good
fun.
question, Roy. Thanks a lot for the phone call this morning.
Speaking of baits and things of that nature, we've got a great text that came from our buddy Greg in San Clemente. He says, "Hi, Bill. What's the best way to keep a ghost shrimp on your hook?"
Oh, boy, that's a great question.
Yeah,
and everybody would ask that. And, Rick and I were talking about this earlier, how, when you're a kid, we used to cast these ghost shrimp out, and something would hit us on the top of the head. Our sinker would be out there 200 yards, but the ghost shrimp would be 2 feet in front of us.
Land behind you.
Land behind you. So when you look at a ghost shrimp and you take a ghost shrimp, and once again, ghost shrimp, let's say you're pumping the ghost shrimp yourself, so you're down in Mission Bay, fish with the ones that you find down there and the size. If it's 2 inches long, that's what they're eating. If it's 4 inches long, they're eating the big ones. But the secret to the ghost shrimp is turn it over so its legs, its carapace are upwards, its back is down. Its tail looks like a little tiny lobster tail.
Right.
You're going to take a long shank hook like a bait holder or a sproat hook, SPROAT, and you're going to run that up the middle of the tail, just like you're feeding a worm up your hook, and then you exit the hook between the legs.
Oh,
the legs are the only hard part of the ghost shrimp.
Right.
So if you exit the hook anywhere other than between those legs, it'll just split in half or 3 pieces and
so kind of like you're doing an MC swim bait, but backwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like doing an MC swim bait, where right from the tail rather than the mouth.
Okay.
And then you're feeding it up through the center of its body, and figuring out the length of your hook, and then punching it out between the legs, which is a very strong part of the.
Are you using a bait
creature.
holder style hook?
Yes, I'm using either a bait holder style or a sproat hook. The difference between those two is that a sproat looks exactly like a bait holder, which is a long shank hook that usually has 2 little barbs on it, but a sproat is a perfect J shape, and then a bait holder normally is offset from its eye.
And let's explain what a bait holder hook looks like so people understand.
Would be an exact J shape. So it's got a long shank that's about 2 inches long up to the eye, and then you've got the turn in the hook, and then it's coming up to the business end of the hook. So,
but it's got barbs on the shank.
It normally has 2 barbs on the shank, and that's what holds your bait up and keeps it from sliding.
That's why they call it a bait holder hook.
That's why they call it a bait holder.
And the best ones are?
Mustad.
Okay. All right.
If you must know.
Very good. Okay.
But Mustad makes a sprout hook, and then I'm not sure who makes the bait holder. That might be Mustad. Also.
I'm not super familiar. I always fish like a I like a longer shank, but I'll usually fish like a gamakatsu mosquito style hook, something along those lines.
Or maybe a kale. There's quite a few Aberdeen. There's a lot of different hooks that will work for it. But remember, it's a long bait, so you need a hook that has a long shaft on it. You can't use a little tiny hook because it won't embed into the hard part of the creature.
Do you sell stuff like that at Fisherman's Landing Tackle?
We do. Yeah, we have some long shank bait holder hooks for sure.
And I know they have them at Dana Landing. I know they have them at Turner's Outdoorsman, and you probably at surffishtackle.com.
Absolutely. And I really do suggest to people that whether they use surffishtackle.com or not, go to the website and look at all the equipment on there. That's what I use on the beach every day.
Okay.
There's nothing on there that's not surf fishing stuff that I use, and it will give you an example of what you need, so when you go to the store, you'll know what to look for.
All right, very good. Another great, thanks for that text. Another great text from Kevin in Camp Pendleton, and this is an interesting question. Speak on the surfer versus surf fishing confrontations.
Oh, goodness
and that happens, right?
Yeah, that's a good call because you guys are both of those things.
Yeah,
two good people to speak on.
Yeah, both Pete and I have surfed our whole life, and it's funny. This changed a lot in Southern California when I was a kid growing up. People who surfed were watermen. They dove, they surfed, they swam, they water skied, they fished. They did everything around the ocean. Now many of the surfers are not only not from here, born here, but they don't really have a water person aspect of the ocean. And they're very confused. Many times surfers will come in and they'll say to me, "Are there any fish here?" Which always cracks me up because there's probably thousands swimming underneath their feet. So there should not be any confrontation at the beach, period. If you go to the beach and there is a surfer or surfers who are being disturbed by you fishing there, the best thing to do is, first of all, reel in and just wait, because of the longshore current, they'll float on by and you can go back to fishing. If that's not going to occur and they're going to want to be in the same place that you are, the very best thing for you to do is just move on.
Yep.
Move on. So you'd love to stand your ground because you were there before the sun came up and so on and so forth, but it's just not worth it. Yeah. And the other thing is all the noise they're making and splashing and everything in the water where you are is really, it's not making the fish leave, but it's really tighten them down so they're not interested to eat.
Yeah, you're going to be much better off just moving.
Just move.
Yeah.
Move on.
For sure. All right. Hey, very good. All right, let's find out what's going on out on the water, right?
You got it, man. Your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen, our fishdope.com reporter, standing by today. That's sponsored by Dana Landing on Mission Bay, your one-stop shop for everything you need to go fishing. A complete saltwater tackle shop, full deli, Mexican and California licenses, trips and six-pack charters, and when it comes to freshwater tackle, check out East County Bait and Tackle, full of all the freshwater tackle and live bait that you need for a great day in the lake. Dana Landing is right across from SeaWorld, next to the Dana Lawn Tramp in Mission Bay. And East County Bait and Tackle, they're at the end of the 67 freeway at Mapleview and Lakeside. Check danalanding.com. Let's talk to Dave Hansen, your saltwater guide. Good morning, Dave.
Hey, good morning, Rick, Pete, Bill. I got locked up on listening to Bill. I almost forgot to call in.
It's interesting stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. And I was thinking I didn't know what the hooks were called, but we just called them ghost shrimp hooks. But in 83, when those red crabs made their first appearance in Southern California, we were using those hooks, the big, long, thin hooks, and we'd run them up the red crab's butt and come out his chest. We were catching every kind of fish. We'd never even seen sargo before 83. I didn't even know what they were, and we were catching them, hundreds of them a day on the half-day boat. It was insane. I just thought those were ghost shrimp hooks. I didn't know they had an actual name.
That's funny.
But, guys, fishing took a little bump, like Wooly said, but over at Catalina, big news. I know Mark talked about it yesterday. I had some clients over there this weekend. There's squid at the island finally. There's squid on the front up at the Isthmus, just outside the Coast Guard buoy. There was some squid caught there, and then there's squid on the backside east down by the V's. And that bodes very well for this wintertime deep water yellowtail fishing. But that's going to be great, but you know what? There's still yellowtail to catch on the surface bite. I had a client call me this morning. He goes, make sure you talk about me. He was over at Catalina yesterday, had wide open bonita fishing, and he caught 2 yellows on live mackerel at the rock quarry. So
nice.
There's plenty of fish to catch at Catalina. You know, that bluefin still on the outside out there, Cortez Tanner. You know, it's in between the wind and in between the weather. You get over there, there's still a lot of that quality bluefin out there, up to 400 pounds. And then, I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to what Booger's been doing on the San Diego, but it looks like it's the middle of the summer. It looks like July, August on that boat anyway.
Real.
My God, I don't know how he does that. It's just absolutely insane. You look at the fish count on his boat and you go, what was he on, a 3-day? And you're like, nope, that was a day trip. You're like, my God, what is wrong with that guy?
He's just Mr. Yellowtail right now. And you know what else too, Dave, is you look at the counts on the day and a half and overnight trips where they're getting down a little further and they're still catching yellowfin tuna down there too.
Limits of yellowfin tuna.
Exactly. And skipjack and dorado.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Good stuff.
It's pretty funny. The season will not go away as far as fishing goes. I know 2020 has been tough on a lot of people, but man, the fishing has been insane this year.
Indeed.
Absolutely insane.
And of course, fishdope.com has had all the information. They have the info on that. I talked about it yesterday, that big bluefin that was just off the Coronado Islands.
Yeah, that was cool.
And more. All the inside stuff is right there at fishdope.com. $20 off a new membership to fishdope.com using the code HookUpNow. Lowercase, no space. Hookup Now is your $20 code. And Dave, how do we find you?
Well, gang, we're running our yearly gift certificate special over at the website, yoursaltwaterguide.com. Just simply email Kelly at yoursaltwaterguide@yahoo.com. She'll send you out a gift certificate for somebody in your family that wants to be a member of the website. It's yoursaltwaterguide.com. Lots of informational videos with over 300. And check out the website, and I will talk to you guys next Sunday. Bill, where's the sand crabs down here?
Okay, here's the secret. Here's the sand crab secret for Cabo San Lucas, East Cape, Fiji. Wherever you find rocks on the beach, they'll be adjacent to those rocks, and they'll be right up against the edge of them. And you'll only find like 2 or 3 or 4 maybe around each one of those little rocks. But they're almost a white in color with little gray stripes on them, and they look very similar to the crabs we have up here, except for their legs are about twice as long.
Okay,
I know that was a perfect description. We've caught him with Harold Davis at Rancho Leonero once, and got bites on him right away. But that was a perfect description. Yeah. I mean, dead on where they were, what they looked like, the whole nine.
Okay, Dave, go look for them and tell us what happens next week.
All right, guys. Thanks. See ya.
All right, Dave. Appreciate that. Phones are packed. Let's jump into it.
You got it. Well, that's going to wrap up our Kedge Report. Again, that's sponsored by Anza Knives. They're handcrafting knives in the USA for over 3 decades. Check out the Fish Pro series and the custom bluefin and yellowfin from Anza Knives. They're made from high-carbon steel, which holds a great edge, and they're easy to sharpen. Anza Knives are the finest filet knives ever produced. Anza also offers knives for military, law enforcement, and hunting. Check AnzaKnives.com for more details and get the Fish Pro series at Fisherman's Processing. You got it, Pete. Phones are packed. Let's talk to our buddy Doug, calling us from Montebello this morning. Hi, Doug. Welcome to Let's Talk Hookup.
Yeah, I was wondering when you cast on the beach, how many casts did you make before you decide to move on to another spot?
Well, first of all, when I cast on the beach, I'm going to use a fan casting motion. I won't just go down to the beach and cast straight out as far as I can. I'll cast to the left. I'll cast straight out. I'll cast to the right. That way I can cover as much surface area as possible. If I go through that pattern 5 times without a bite, off I go. 100 feet or maybe 100 yards down the beach and start the same pattern again. That way I can cover as much surface area as possible. And once I get a bite or I get a fish, I know that's the spot.
That's cool.
Fantastic. Hey, Doug, good question. Thanks a lot for the call this morning.
All right. Hey, how about another great text? This one from our buddy Tom and from University City. He says, I got a question. I'm going on a surf trip down to southern Baja. What are the basic surf fishing setups that I should bring? I really want to keep it simple, and which you kind of covered a little bit there before. How do I find bait on the beach down south?
That's a great question. I love that question. So I'm presuming you're talking about southern Baja, like down by Cabo San Lucas, for example, not in San Quintin. So let's say we're going down to Cabo San Lucas. You've got 2 places, 2 really distinct places and equipment to use when you're fishing there. If you're fishing on the Pacific side, so let's say you go 17 miles up the west coast to Magrino Beach, which is about halfway between there and Todos Santos, that's a very deep water area that comes into very shallow. As a matter of fact, you'll be fishing the beach there and guys will be catching marlin 150 feet in front of you. It's amazing how deep it is to shallow. We'll use a very big rod there, a 12 to 14 foot rod, usually a 6,000 size spinning reel with 65 to 85 pound braided line, and then we'll fish about a 5 ounce Ranger or a similar jig like that we can cast out. So that's what we're going to use on the Pacific side. Some really big fish down there. Our friend Wes Bro down, who lives down there and is a guide there, has up to 300 pound grouper and shark and everything. Yellowtail, Dorado. He's got really everything but a wahoo I've seen that he's had. Beautiful fish there. And then when you go around the corner and you go up the East Cape, completely different setup. I'm downsizing to maybe a 8 or 9 foot rod, medium action spinning rod with about 12 pound mono, and that's what I'm using on the East Cape side. Totally different scenario because you're not dealing with big surf out of the west.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Hey, good question and good text. Appreciate that. Let's go ahead and jump back on the phone.
Sounds good. How about this time we talk to Chuck. Chuck's calling us from Long Beach this morning. Hi, Chuck. Welcome to Let's Talk Hookup.
Guys, good morning. Hope everyone's having a good day.
Thanks, Chuck.
Hey, thanks.
So my question is, for the different types of bait, are you using the same type of bait hook, or are you switching that up, depending if it's a sand crab, a bloodworm, ghost shrimp, and then are they all pretty much Carolina rigged, or do you do something different depending on the type of bait?
That's a great question.
That's a great question. Yeah. I would say probably 90% of the time at least we're using the Carolina rig. That is certainly the most common rig to use in the surf, and the only difference I'm making on that rig is the difference in the weight of my sinker or the length of my leader depending on the surf. So the bigger the surf, the heavier the sinker, and the shorter your leader, because all surf fish feed right on the bottom. And if your leader is too long or your sinker's too light, your bait will be up by the surface. So the bigger the surf, the shorter the leader, and vice versa. The smaller the surf, you get down there this time of year, Santa Ana conditions, 1 foot waves, clear water. Then you're looking at maybe a 36-inch leader instead of a 12-inch leader, and you're looking at quarter-ounce sinker when it's calm versus a 3/4-ounce sliding sinker when there's surf.
And this is a Carolina rig?
This would be Carolina rig.
Okay.
Maybe give the simplest description of what a Carolina rig is?
Absolutely. Carolina rig is made up of a sliding egg sinker, anywhere from 1/8 ounce to an ounce, a bead. I'm going to use a 6 millimeter bead that acts as a cushion between the sliding sinker and the swivel to keep sand out of the inside of the sliding sinker. And then I'm going to use a number 10, a 12, or a 14 black swivel. I'm not going to use a zinc plated or chrome plated or a brass swivel because they shine. I'm going to use a black swivel, which either means I buy one or I paint it black. And then I'm going to use fluorocarbon leader, anywhere from 10 inches to 30 inches of leader, and then a hook. And there's several different styles of hooks that we use based on our bait. So the bigger our bait, the longer our bait in particular, a worm really long, a ghost shrimp long, we're going to use a long shank hook.
Okay.
On a sand crab, on a clam, on a mussel, a much smaller hook, a different shape and size hook that doesn't have a long shank on it.
All right. And that's why you need to read the book for all the different types
Exactly.
of hooks.
And there's pictures in there. It makes it very easy.
Can I bug for one last rigging thing? With all that on your spinning reel, are you fishing mono or are you fishing braid?
I'm fishing straight mono.
Okay.
Now, I would, you don't need a lot of line in the surf. Mm-hmm. That's one thing about surf fishing is that when you hook a fish in the surf, it doesn't go, unless it's maybe a yellowtail or some strange thing, but it doesn't go straight out to sea. It actually fights right along the coast. And the reason it does that is because if it knows if it gets outside the surf line, something else is going to eat it.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Hey,
that's great.
Thanks a lot for the call this morning, Chuck. Great question from our good friend Tim Manaka, board of director, member of CCA, and thanks, Tim, for all you do. He says, I've been impressed. He says, please have Bill talk about the light surf rods that he has. I've been impressed with them, and they are reasonably priced.
Thank you. Yeah. Surf rods, once again, we're always looking for something, 7 to 9 foot light action, very limber tip, and a very light rod. We want to have a rod that maybe weighs 6 to 7 ounces. Why is that? Because you're walking along the beach. You're not camped out anymore, sitting on top of your ice chest and putting it in a sand spike. You're walking along the beach. So the lighter, the better. And then the rods that I have are hand-built rods made up in Santa Barbara. They use a very lightweight seeker blank, and then they're custom wrapped. And once again, they're about 8.5 and 9 foot. They weigh about 6 to 7 ounces. They work perfectly with a 2500 or a 3000 series spinning reel, and they're made specifically for surf fishing. That was the thing that got me over my whole life. Is there's never been a surf fishing rod out there. Way back in the day there were these 14-foot Calcuttas, but other than that, and so we would always go look for a steelhead rod. We had no other choice but a trout rod, a steelhead rod, and that was what we had to adapt to. So years ago I worked with Cousins, and before they went out of business, we came out with several surf rods with them that were perfectly matched to the surf, and we've done this again.
That's great.
All right, very good. Thanks a lot, and thanks for the call.
Thank you, Tim.
Hey, when we come back, we got a lot more Let's Talk Hookup coming away, including more of your phone calls, more of this great surf fishing information. You stay tuned. It's Let's Talk Hookup on the Let's Talk Hookup app and radio network.
Turner's Outdoorsman, Southern California's #1 shooting, hunting, and fishing tackle retailer since 1971, is right in your neighborhood. Now with stores throughout Southern, Central, and Northern California. No one does it better. Turner's Outdoorsman brings you the best prices and selection, plus a knowledgeable staff that will help make your day on the water or in the field more fun. Stop by your neighborhood Turner's Outdoorsman. To find a location nearest you, check the web at turners.com and sign up for special deals and more. Many years ago, Baja pioneer Bob Van Wormer found the area he called the Great Fish Trap in the East Cape of southern Baja and built what is now regarded as the premier East Cape resorts of Palmas de Cortez and Playa del Sol. Today, following in their father's footsteps, Bob's sons, Bobby, Chucky, and Eddie, have taken Palmas de Cortez and Playa del Sol to new levels with the largest sport fishing fleet in Mexico, a luxurious spa, and top-of-the-line resort amenities. Van Wormer Resorts have become a destination for travelers worldwide. But for us, Palmas de Cortez and Playa del Sol are just a short 2-hour flight away. No other tropical fishing destination offers the experience and value that you'll find at Palmas de Cortez and Playa del Sol. Now you can plan your Baja fishing vacation quick and easy by visiting VanWormerResorts.com. And when you're ready to book, it's quick and easy. Or simply call 877-777-TUNA for more information. Van Wormer Resorts, the East Cape's finest.
It's time to get excited about fishing, and Point Loma Sport Fishing has everything you'll need. They offer half-day and three-quarter-day trips daily, perfect for families and the novice or seasoned fishermen. Point Loma Sport Fishing also offers overnight to multi-day trips, targeting the best of seasonal catches. Visit their website at pointlomasportfishing.com, where you can purchase tickets online and get more information on the trips available, or call 619-223-1627. Cast Tours is a family-owned and operated travel company that specializes in taking you to great fishing destinations. They take pride in providing the best and most affordable vacation packages available. For over 20 years, Cast Tours has been creating unique sport fishing and vacation trips. Whether it's a fishing trip, a family vacation, or an adventure, they will provide you the service and value you deserve. Call Cast Tours at 800-593-6510 or check casttours.com.
2 years ago, Gamakatsu set out to develop a hook light enough for live bait to swim naturally, yet strong enough to handle your next trophy bluefin. The answer? The Gamakatsu Nautilus Heavy Duty. Most captains agree the Gamakatsu Nautilus hook is best for tuna. And now with the introduction of the Nautilus HD, no matter how big the tuna, Gamakatsu has a hook to handle it. The new Nautilus HD is now available with solid ring or standard hook. Get it now at select tackle shops and start getting bit.
All right, welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup. Having a great time here this morning, talking all kinds of fishing here, talking good surf fishing, and man, it's had a great morning. Busy on the phones.
Yeah,
if you want to get your shot
busy
in this last little shot here, 833-288-0973.
Now, we were talking about Gamakatsu hooks during
Yes.
and you like Gamakatsu.
Oh my
hooks.
gosh, Gamakatsu hook is the very best hook in the surf that you could ever purchase.
And what type of hook are you using?
We use the split shot drop shot in either a size 1, a 2, or a 4. So this is why the Gamakatsu hook is so good. Very, very thin hook, a very thin wire hook, and a very, very sharp hook. Thin wire and sharp hooks are probably the most important thing you'll ever find in surf fishing, because unlike boat fishing or dock or pier fishing, you're not over the fish.
Yeah.
You're actually kind of at the same level as them. And if you pull to set a hook in the surf, it'll pull it right out of the fish's mouth. So the Gamakatsu hook is so thin and so very sharp that all you have to do is reel down. Yeah. Just reel down and lift up your rod, and you have the fish. I love the Gamakatsu split shot drop shot hook.
Oh, yeah, it's a good hook for sure. Yeah. And you have it at Surffish Tackle. I know Turns Out Dorsman has them. Do you guys carry those?
We don't.
Yeah,
no,
that's not. It's a freshwater.
I'm
sure they have them over at Dana Landing.
It's a great saltwater hook for sure, which is not one that we have.
But they certainly have them at East County Bait and Tackle.
Yes, East County Bait and Tackle definitely have them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're a freshwater bass drop shot hook.
Yeah, definitely. Bart Hall, good morning.
Hey, Bart.
Good morning, guys. How are you feeling, Pete?
Well, other than going stir crazy, not being able to do my normal activity because I'm in this boot and on a crutch and on a knee walker, I'm doing just fine, Bart. Thank you very much. But, the good news is I'm getting a lot of work done, and I'm getting a lot of practice done on my piano, too. So.
Well, that's very good, Pete. I'm very fond of music, in my background. Mm-hmm. But, Bill, something I have to tell you, and that is fight on.
Fight on. That's right. We had a much better game last night than we had in previous days, although I would have liked to have seen the third quarter.
Wouldn't that have been nice?
Yes, that would have been nice. It's hard to believe that ESPN's cameras broke down.
That's hard to believe.
That was a crazy story.
What a crazy story.
The thing is that's the ugliest 3-0 start I've ever seen, but at least it's 3-0. So
Exactly.
But the other thing I was just sitting here thinking, of all the 600 seminars we do every year, I have two favorites. One is Dave Hansen for shock value, and the other is Bill Varney. Bill Varney for the incredible knowledge and the way you lay it out. You make it accessible to people. You explain things so clearly, and so much, and it's really wonderful to have you. Thank you for doing all that.
Well, thank you so much, Bart. And the thing that powers me is the passion of anglers that we see at the show every year. It's unbelievable, and it makes us all so excited. So I love to give those seminars, and I really look forward. You know me, Bart. I'm really looking forward to getting back out there at the show and giving seminars again.
Me too, I'll tell you. But I have a surf fishing story for me. I went to a party once at a house that I think eventually was owned by Leonardo DiCaprio, and it was a party that I didn't really want to be at, and I was bored. And in my car, I had a trout rod with a broken tip, and they had catered this party, and somebody was barbecuing, and they had all this sushi out. So I went inside and I took the shrimp off the sushi and my broken trout rod down those steps to the surf and caught a bunch of barred perch and then brought them up and cooked them on the barbecue.
Nice.
A man after my own heart.
Yeah, that made the party a lot better because it was really boring.
That's fun, Bart. Well, great to hear from you, Bart. And you have a happy Thanksgiving. And is it going to be surf perch on the menu?
Well, Travis is out on the Liberty today, so I believe he's bringing me back some fish this evening, and that will be on part of the menu on Thanksgiving.
Oh, fantastic. Nice. All right.
Good.
You should be having yellowtail. Yeah, definitely. Hey, thanks. Nice to hear from you. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Bart. Appreciate that. Hey, our good buddy Steve from L.A., the world famous, probably one of the classically oldest listeners of Let's Talk Hookup. Not old age-wise, but, he's been with us
from the beginning.
From 29 years of broadcasting. And sure appreciate. And he comes to all our remotes, and he and his lovely wife, they're great.
We might be doing a Ford dealership in South San Diego County, and you better believe Steve's going to be there.
LA is there,
no doubt.
For sure.
Great guy.
Steve says, "What options do I have for surf fish tackle bags?"
Wow, that's a good question.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
And this is why. First of all, and Rick knows this better than anybody, the bag manufacturers have come and gone out of business like changing your underwear. It's unbelievable how fast they come and go. And at the beach, you want a very light tackle bag. First of all, because you're going to be walking along the beach, you're going to be moving, and you certainly don't want to have something you have to pick up and put down and pick up and put down, and people tend to take things and so on and so forth. The other thing about surf fishing is you use very little equipment. A little pack of hooks, 4 or 5 sliding sinkers of different weights, a few beads, a few swivels. I actually generally use a little bag that hangs around my neck, something that could fit in my pocket, a fanny pack or a backpack like we have now, the surf fishing backpack. Something like that is what you want, because you're not going to leave it behind on the sand, because remember, you're walking down the beach, so you don't want to have something you have to go pick up, put down, pick up, put down. So anything that you can carry, like a backpack, a fanny pack, any of those things work great as a bag in the surf.
Now, as you're mobile and such like that, and let's say it's summertime and you're catching sand crabs, do you have anything that you can hold sand crabs in while you're walking up and down the beach?
I do. First of all, we've made a big advancement in catching sand crabs.
Yeah, your catcher.
The crab and go,
Crab and go is awesome.
It's just amazing how much easier that is and light and all that versus the big rakes that we used to have to carry around. And so many times my rake would get, because I'd be down 200-300 yards down the beach from the rake, and I'd look back and somebody would be walking away with it from the opposite direction. so I ended up painting them all pink.
Oh, that's funny.
So I could see them a mile away, and somebody had my pink rake. But this sand crab catcher just clips to your belt, so it's very easy to catch the crabs. And then we use a waste bait bucket. So it's a little bait bucket. Normally you'll find those for freshwater fishing for worms. Your belt goes through and it goes around your waist, and they work fine in there. And so I rinse the crabs every once in a while because they get warm in there versus being down the sand. And then I put a piece of wet kelp over the top of them to keep them moist and cool while I fish during the day.
Okay, good tips.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
So much great information,
Yeah,
Bill. I dig it.
Let's go ahead and jump back on the phones.
Well,
Rick.
they are still packed solid, and we're next going to talk to Mark. He's calling us from Santee. Hi, Mark. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Great,
Super.
Mark.
Hey, Breckenridge is a beautiful place. It's a winter wonderland. My daughter lived up there for 8 years.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah, Bill, it's good. But I got a question for you, Bill. I know you say you like to use the live bait, but if you use a swim bait, what size should you use?
That's a great question. You always want to match the swim bait to the size of fish that you're fishing around. So let's say, for example, I'm fishing the swim bait in the surf, and I'm generally looking for maybe a halibut or a spot fin, yellowfin, a corbina that might hit that bait. I'm looking at probably a 2 to 3 inch swim bait. If I'm fishing in the bay where I'm going to find anchovy and sardine and bigger bait fish, I might fish all the way up to a 6 inch bait. But in the surf, normally, we're trying to match the lures to the size of a bait or food, forage that they would be eating. And for example, if I'm using a grub, it's a 2 inch grub. I would not have any luck with a 4 inch grub in the surf because that's not the size of the food that occurs there naturally.
Okay, good
Great
question. Thanks a lot for the phone call this morning.
All right, let's jump right back into him, and this time talk to Rich. He's calling us from Bradley this morning. Hi, Rich. Welcome to Let's Talk Hookup.
Well, thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to the entire crew and to Mr. Bill. This is one of my favorite shows. I kind of crank up my attention level a couple of notches when Bill's on because he just really lays it on us really well. Here in the Central Coast where I live, we not only have the sand beaches where they have pretty good populations of the surf perch, and the guys that are successful with it are pretty much all tuned into Bill's program with the lightweight rods and Carolina rigs. But in addition to the surf fishing here, along the same beaches, we have big stretches of areas that have really heavy rock, the kind of rock that you could climb out on at low tide, and some of them would be like 10, 12 feet high. And you see a lot of people out there fishing, and I'm wondering if Bill could maybe give us his insights into how he would approach those areas, or if that's part of his program or not.
Absolutely. And here's a couple of things to think about when you're fishing near or upon or over rocks in the area of rocks. First of all, when you're fishing and there's rocks offshore, let's say rather than a big reef that comes out and you walk out on it, but you look out and there's a rock the size of a Volkswagen sitting out there within casting distance, you can be guaranteed that on the front side of that rock, on the beach side, not the windward side, but the beach side of that rock, that it is full of both fish, particularly perch, big perch in that area, and food. They sit on the inside of that rock because think about as that wave wraps around that rock, the front side of that rock has too much water movement on it. The fish are not going to be in front of it, but they're going to be in the back because it creates an eddy circulation. And not only is it easier for them to sit and to breathe there, but it automatically, like a buffet, brings the food from the front of the rock back to where they are. So whenever you see a rock offshore, you know that there's going to be fish around that, and perch in particular as the water cools down. When you walk out on a jetty, you know how you walk out and you hear the water rushing below you? It's kind of a strange feeling. You think, like, I'm on all these rocks. How could there be water down there? Well, you know what else is down there? The biggest surf fish. The biggest surf fish back into the rocks and sit in those rocks. And they come out when the waves break on the rocks and create bubbles. If you were diving down there, you would barely see them for the few seconds until the bubbles are gone and they're gone. And then they'll grab their food and go back in. So when I'm fishing from the rocks, there's two really important things to remember. Downsize your sinker. You want to have your sliding sinker on the Carolina rig no more than 1/8 of an ounce. The reason for that, if it's any heavier than that, it will get snagged between the rocks in a New York second, and you'll never get it out of there. If it's very, very light, like 1/8 of an ounce, you can just jiggle the end of your rod, and 7 out of 10 times it'll pop right out of the rocks. The other thing to remember is I used to stand on the rocks. I'd cast out 100 yards from the rocks. All of the fish are right under my feet. So what you want to do is you want to drop your bait in right where the sand meets the rocks, and that's where you want to fish.
Very good. Hey, good question. Thanks a lot for the call.
Man.
It's
This
good
is
stuff.
So great. Hey, we got a first-time caller on the line. Steve from San Diego. We say first-time callers go right to the front of the line. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions on halibut surf fishing. We do a lot of surf fishing on Dog Beach and in the harbor and in Mission, and we're just wondering, what's the best time of year to do some surf fishing for halibut, and what type of lures or bait are you guys catching them on?
Oh my gosh, another hour. Surf fishing for halibut is good all year long, but it's particularly good during their spawning periods, which would be in the fall and in the springtime. Of course, you'll catch them all year long, but those are times when they're most active. Halibut occur in areas where you find sand and rock meet, and halibut feed primarily at slack tide periods. Why is that? Because a halibut spends a lot of its time getting to the bottom, right on the edge of where the rock and the sand meet, using the fins along the outside of their entire body to cover themselves with sand and hide, so only their eyes are there. Because of that, they don't come out of the sand unless they know that there's something conclusively for them to eat in that area. Otherwise, they stay buried there. And the other thing, too, is you think about a halibut, it's like a kite in the wind. If there's a strong current coming out of a bay, that halibut is not going to come out of the sand in most cases to strike food, because it's going to be carried like a kite in the current. Absolutely opposite of all other fish that are aquadynamic. So a period of time, maybe a half an hour, 45 minutes before high tide and after high tide, before low tide and after low tide, is the ultimate time to be fishing for halibut. And if you went back to like my dad's era, the 30s and the 40s in Hermosa Beach, crocodiles, that was what everybody used back then. Crocodiles were very effective in the surf. A half ounce is probably my favorite size here in Southern California. Also the Castmaster, those half-ounce gold or silver Castmasters work great, but all of that has been eclipsed recently by the Lucky Craft lure and the Rapala or the Rapala, depending on what side of the table you're sitting on here, and those work really great in the surf too. Rapala.
This is the Rapala.
I'm on the Rapala side today.
Yeah, Rapala here.
Actually, I'm a Colt Sniper jerkbait man myself.
Which would work. In the surf, all of these fish in the surf, halibut and really perch too. Perch, halibut, corvina, they're all eating small perch. Mm-hmm. Perch fry, which is a little round, so it looks like a crocodile, it looks like a Lucky Craft or a Rapala or any of those things. So that's what you want to match your bait to.
All right. Hey, thanks for being a first-time caller with us. Please join us again.
All right. How about Charles in San Marcos up next on Let's Talk Hookup? Good morning, Charles.
Hey, good morning, guys. One question is, I hear there's a La Nina weather system that's coming up soon, mm-hmm. and I was wondering how that's going to affect our fisheries. Another question is, I keep catching these bat rays. Can you actually eat a bat ray? Are they worth eating?
Okay, El Nino, La Nina, all that, really important to all fishing and surf fishing. When we get a La Nina, the water is going to cool, and what that's going to mean is that there'll probably be less corvina in the summertime, and they'll be more concentrated south. So when the water gets really warm, as it was maybe 3 years ago and still warm this year, places like Carpinteria had a tremendous amount of really big corvina. You won't see them up there. As this water gets colder, they'll stay down south, and they'll be primarily in the San Diego and Orange County region. So that colder water will not only move the fish south, but it will also produce a tremendous amount of sand crabs. Sand crabs grow and reproduce like crazy in cooler water. Oh. The warmer the water, the less crabs we have. So if you went back like 5-6 years ago, people would say, hey, Bill, I'm down in San Diego this week. I can't find a crab. Water was too warm and they didn't spawn. So you'll find more bait on the beach, and you'll find a bigger variety of perch, for example, and a smaller variety of corbina and spot-finning yellowfin croaker who will move to a little warmer water.
Okay.
That's great.
Good one. Hey, thanks a lot for the phone call this morning.
How about sneaking in another text? This one says, an old timer told me that I need to pick through my sand crabs and find the special ones with the soft shell. What exactly is he referring to, and how do I do it?
Are you referring to me as the old timer? That's exactly right. And you know, the consistency that I like is of the shell of the sand crab would be about what a pop can or a beer can is if you push it in with your finger, about that hardness. You don't want them too soft because they become mushy, like if they've just lost their shell or they're ready to lose it and you peel their shell off. They're so soft they just mush down on your hook and they end up looking unnatural. They kind of float around down there like they're dead. Okay. If they're too hard, that might not work also. So if you have the ability to find the medium consistency, like pushing in a can, about that hardness.
Like a Cutwater can.
Like a Cutwater, exactly.
Belly High Mai Tai?
Yeah. That's right. Or Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
I'm expecting one soon here. But that's exactly what you're looking for. And then the only exception to that is if you go fishing in an area like Santa Barbara or north of Pismo, where there are very few soft shell sand crabs because they lose their shell and they create a hard shell very quickly because of cold water. The shell gets harder slower in warm water and much more quickly in cold water than if all the bait is predominantly hard. Use a hard shell sand crab.
Got it.
Okay,
You're a big fan of matching what they're eating. Like that's the one thing I just hear resonate over and over is you like to put out what they're going to be eating anyways.
Match the hatch, as they say in Breckenridge, right?
That's right. Just like in Breckenridge with all those nymphs.
I like it.
Hey, let's go ahead and get one more quick call in.
You got it. Ernie in Canyon Country's up next on Let's Talk Hookup. Got a quick one for us, Ernie?
Yeah, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning, Pete and Corey and Bill. I'm a long-time listener of Let's Talk Hookup and a long, good friend of Bill's. Been to his seminar in Carpinteria, and I've got his crab bait catcher. And
great. We have about 30 seconds left. You have a quick question?
Yeah. Why do you use red mono on the surf?
Oh,
wow, that's a good question. Well, the main reason I use red mono is that if I was to use clear or green or blue line, that's the color of the water. That's the color of the sky. So I'm looking out in the water, I wouldn't be able to see my line. And in the surf, it's very important to know exactly where your line is. And not only because of where the fish are versus your line, but you have a longshore current. And if you can't see your line before you know it, it's on the beach and wrapped around some little guy's legs. And next thing you know, you got the lifeguard running down after you with his buoy. So having a red line, it's very easy to see looking out into the water, and that's why we use it.
All right, very good. Thanks a lot for the call.
Hey, when we come back, we're going to find out we got 3 prizes to give away and a lot more. You stay tuned. You're listening to Let's Talk Hookup on the Let's Talk Hookup app and radio network.
When you put on a pair of Maui Jim sunglasses, the world begins to look different. Colors are more vivid. Contrast is clearer. Details are crisper. Wherever your vision leads you, beauty follows. With polarized lenses that eliminate glare and enhance color, Maui Jim sunglasses won't change the world. They'll change the way you see it. Color, clarity, detail. Maui Jim.
One of the dream trips for most anglers is Alaska. There are so many lodges. How do you make a choice? It's easy. Choose the one most Let's Talk Hookup listeners return to time after time. Kingfisher Charters in Sitka, Alaska. No one does it better than Kingfisher Charters. They offer the best service, the most comfortable accommodations, fantastic food, and the finest charter captains in Sitka. All for the ultimate value. One visit and you will understand why nobody beats Kingfisher Charters. Sitka is famous for some of the best runs of salmon in Alaska. And if giant Alaskan halibut is your target, the expert captains at Kingfisher Charters know the hot spots and can put you on a fish of a lifetime. Plenty of rockfish and huge lingcod are there too. And when it comes to fish processing, the best in Alaska is Kingfisher Charters. It's all included in your package. In fact, everything is included except tips. It is truly amazing how the Kingfisher crew continues the quality of service they deliver year after year. Kingfisher Charters, 800-727-6136 or check kingfishercharters.com.
When it comes to fishing rods for saltwater, there's just one name you need to know, CalStar. Take, for example, the Graphiter series. It's a true graphite and fiberglass composite rod, the finest it's ever been built. And for anglers seeking traditional performance, durability, and quality at an affordable price, the CalStar West Coast series of rods and blanks are the ones for you. Their master craftsmen bring decades of rod building experience to every rod they make. So if you want your fishing rods to be truly state-of-the-art, I always recommend CalStar at fine tackle stores everywhere.
A top fleet and superb fishing is what Seaforth Sport Fishing in Mission Bay is all about. With free parking and fully stocked tackle shop, it's no wonder Seaforth Sport Fishing is a favorite among anglers. Come aboard top boats like the Aztec, Cortez, Endeavor, Apollo, Outer Limits, El Gato Dos, Pride, Tribute, Pacifica, Pacific Voyager, and the Voyager. Plus the new Seaforth, Sea-Watch, and San Diego offer the finest half and full day trips available. Seaforth Sport Fishing. For charters or regular open party schedule, check seaforthlanding.com. Run by fishermen, for fishermen in Mission Bay.
Okay, it is time. The big winners, the 5-pack of the CCA Bill Varney calendars. That's going to Harry in La Jolla. Congratulations, Harry. The surf fishing hand-picked kit is going to Rich in Bradley. And that awesome surf fishing backpack is Charles in San Marcos. Guys, you are going to be hooked up with all your new gear.
Thanks to Bill. Appreciate that very much. Bill Varney, a surf fishing guru. And, of course, we never got to CCA, which I feel bad because that's such an important thing. And talking about AB 3030 and such like that.
Yes.
We'll save that for another show.
Sure, and I could give you just a really quick AB 3030. So AB 3030, we fought against that. We represented the California anglers, saying that we didn't feel that was a good idea. The California Senate decided not to move forward with it. Then a few weeks later, the governor in his Walnut Grove came out and did an executive order trying to put it into place. Now, the good part about it is he has put together a committee that will include CCA to represent the anglers, to put our opinion together and go to the Natural Resources Committee before a final decision is made.
Yeah.
So we're going to be there. We're going to represent you.
We're going to be able to have some voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's not like it was steamrolling by, which it was what the enviros were trying to do with it. So, yeah. And that's why you need to be a member of CCA for just that reason alone. Then there's like 1,000 other reasons you should be a member of CCA. Please join CCA for sure. And Bill, how do we get the calendar? How do we get Surf Fish Tackle? How do we get all that stuff?
That's great. So the calendar is at 90 stores, every tackle store in Southern California, all the landings and Turner's Outdoorsman. If anybody wants to look at the surf fishing equipment I use every day on the beach, just go to surffishtackle.com and please go to my website, fishthesurf.com, where I have all kinds of articles, tips, webcams, everything you need to know about surf fishing. And from there, you can send me an email. If you have any questions, call me or send me an email.
And don't forget your surf fish clinics, too. So
that's
have
right.
Those listed on there.
Our clinics will begin hopefully this May.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for the great info. And thank you for listening today. Thanks to all the people that helped us out here. And sure appreciate everything Dave does in the studio for us, as well as Adam on our app. And next Saturday, Eric Landesfien from BD Outdoors is going to be here. He's great. And then Bob Blum, world record expert, and Pamela Benson from Rancho Leonero. Thanks for listening today. We'll see you next week right back here on the Let's Talk Hookup app and radio network.